Hello. So, in this lab, we will be exploring the charge file attribute, how to make use of charge. Now, so basically, beyond standard permissions, Linux also has an extended attribute system that can make files immutable or append only, even against the root user. Now, here in this lab, we will explore the A, which has to do with the append only, and I, which has to do with immutable attributes using the change attributes and ls attributes commands. Now, with standard Linux permissions, we can control the read, the write, and execute assets, but they can be overridden by the root. Now, with the change attribute command, you can add attributes at the level of the file system that even the root cannot bypass that, and you can explicitly remove them as well. With the A attribute, we deal with the append only. You can add data to the file, but not overwrite or delete it. This is perfect for log files for which an attacker who compromises a process can't erase his or her tracks. Now, with the I attribute, which has to do with immutability, the file cannot be modified, deleted, or renamed, or even hand linked, not even by the root or any other person, without first removing this particular attribute. This is really critical for sensitive or critical system configuration file. Now, we'll use the ls arch to view these attributes. Now, it's an analogous for the ls-l for when it comes to normal permissions. Now we will go ahead to create a test file. With our test file, we'll input some data into it. So we use the echo command. Now let's say this is my test file content. Now we'll see perm underscore demo, or we can just say demo file. Here's the demo.txt. Now let's check out the attributes for this particular file using the ls attribute command. Demo.txt. Now we see this file doesn't have any attributes that have been allocated to it, such as the A, which is for append, or the immutability attributes. Now let's apply the append only attributes to this file. So we will sudo change attribute plus we'll add the A stands for append, demo.txt. Okay. Now once this is done, let's check out the present attributes for our file. Now we see that has been included. We have the A attribute has been included to this file. Now let's test and see how the append only behavior works. Now let's echo this. Let's say I want to overwrite this file. Oh, we forgot the sign that directs the input into it. So yeah, we see the operation is not permitted. Now this is due to the fact that we had allocated the append attribute, and this append attribute indicates that content can only be added to the file. It cannot be used to overwrite the already present content in a file. Now let's try to use the sudo command to see if someone with root privileges can do this anyways. You see, we received the same message which shows operation is not permitted. So even root root users or even with root permissions, you cannot overwrite this file. Now let's try to remove the file. Now we cannot remove this file either ways, since the append attribute is there. Even with sudo privileges, we cannot do that. Now this does not work even with sudo privileges. Now all of these fail. Even root can't delete or even overwrite an append only file. Now but appending works. If we add a double dash here, it shows that we want to append the file. I want to append this file. Let's do this. You see it works, it shows no error. And let's check the file to see if the text has been written into it. You see the second line of text has been added to it and the first line of text is still there. Now let's test the immutability attribute. Now we will remove the append attribute. To do this, let's change attribute. We will take -a rather this time to remove the append only attribute from this file. Now this is done, so we now add the immutability attribute to the file, which stands with I. Now once this is done, we can check our attribute for this file. Now it shows the immutability attribute for the file. Now in order to test it, we can go ahead and try to overwrite, delete or rename or even hard link this file. To overwrite, let's take equal overwrite demo.txt. Now we see we don't have permissions to do this. Now let's even try to remove this file. So even with sudo privileges, let's go directly using sudo privileges. It doesn't work, we cannot remove this file. Now let's try to even move this file to another file. Let's say demo.txt. we try to move it to another file, say demo1.txt. we cannot move it, so the operation is not permitted. We do not have permissions to do this. Now even we try it with sudo with root privileges, it still doesn't work. Now let's try to create a hard link for this, for our file. To the same demo1.txt. Now it fails to create the hard link for this file. So in all of these, we see that the change attributes are very powerful, but often they are overlooked when it comes to security. Now with the immutability attribute on the /etc/passwd or even the sudoers file, it will make it nearly impossible for malware to tamper with user accounts. Now the append-only attribute on log files ensures that audit trails can't be erased. That is, if an attacker gets into the system, the attacker cannot make changes to the log files to erase its or her presence on the system.